Hey everybody, it's your favorite friend and fiend, Kenneth Ramon, back here again in the Cruiser Bruiser. I'm back with you this time, you guys, with another awesome-tacular movie review for you guys. And this one in particular is a lot to unpack. So I will say I'm gonna do this review with no spoilers at first. I'm gonna let you guys know real quick when I'm gonna get into spoilers. But I just saw this awesome movie called The Woman in the Yard, and to be quite frank with you guys, I tried to avoid this movie. I didn't want to watch it when it came out in theaters. I saw the trailer, and it actually kind of freaked me out a little bit. I don't remember what movie I went to go see, but I saw a movie in theaters, and the trailer for The Woman in the Yard was shown, and I just found it very unsettling. Okay, you got this woman wearing a black veil over her face. You don't even see what her face looks like. It's totally like pitch black, a black figure in the middle of nowhere in front of this lady's house. And right there, that was just terrifying. I'm like, I do not want to watch this in theaters, and I didn't really want to watch it at all. I'm kind of a chicken when it comes to like movies about, spirits and entities and things like that. So just so you guys know, like, those are the type of movies that really get under my skin. But I ended up seeing this. My coworkers, all right, we were like reaching like the end of the school year and things like that, so we wanted to go out and watch a movie, right? So we watched the Woman in the Yard, as recommended from another coworker, and I was like, you know what, I haven't seen that movie, so at least it's something I haven't seen before. So just to get into the movie's premise real quick, you have this family that lives in the middle of nowhere. We know that. All right, they're grieving the loss of the father figure in the household, the husband, and he got into a car crash with his wife, and the wife survived the car crash. She's in crutches now. She could barely get by, and she's like trying to provide for her kids, even though sometimes it's hard. In the beginning of the movie, we find out that the power's out in the house has issues, and the husband had told the wife that, we're coming very close with this house. This house is almost done. There's just a few more things, but we got an amazing house, for our family. And then he ends up dying in this car crash. We don't know exactly how he got into the crash at first, so we later find out, But right now, as there's no spoilers, I'm just gonna, just get to the gist of the movie. So we kind of learn about like the family's background, and then all of a sudden, there's this strange figure out in front of their yard. And it's not really scary at first because the woman in the yard interacts with the mother like a normal person. Like, it's not like a ghostly like type of voice or something like, "You called for me and now I'm here." She talks like a regular person. So it's not like super scary at first, but just the way that this figure is, presented itself, it's just really, really freaky. And then, so we don't know why she's there. She's not like attacking the family whatsoever. She's just there. We don't know why. We just know that the mother called for her and she's there. And then all of a sudden, like, the days go by and she gets closer and closer to the house, like gradually gets closer to the house. Like, she moves her spot little by little, and you don't see her move. She just moves as far as what the kids are saying that they see. So she's not like menacing at all, but she's just there. And that alone, is startling in itself, if you ask me, just to have a presence there. You don't know why, but she's just there, and she's wearing all black. So in my head, I'm thinking, what does this symbolize? Is this the angel of death? That's what I was asking myself throughout this movie. Is this the angel of death that's coming to take the mother away? The father passed away, so now is it coming for the mother? That's, throughout this movie, you have all those questions in your mind, like, what does this movie really, really mean? But anyways, I will say I just got those eerie chills down my spine. After I saw this movie, I drove home at night. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and I was still thinking about it. And I was so startled, like I was driving down my street, and normally there isn't anybody there. But this time, I don't know why, but there was like a couple people that were going for a walk at 10 o'clock at night for whatever reason, walking their dogs. And I didn't expect to see anybody there. I was like, oh, to the side of the road. I'm like, and then I went down my street, where I live on, and then there was just this car just parked there in the middle of the way that's normally not there. Why is this car doing here? What is it doing here? I have no idea. And that's kind of like what this movie is about. It's like, what is this entity and what does it want? As the movie progresses, you get to really feel like the level of discomfort that the mother has in particular. The mother is the protagonist of this movie. Yeah, you have the kids there, and the kids are kind of disturbed too, but not as much as the mother. You could see the mother like slowly going insane, and she's totally freaked out and paranoid about this woman being in the yard and what is she doing here? What does it mean? I don't even want to say it's like a ghost film. I mean, it can be a ghost film, but like if you like movies that are about like strange figures and entities and the fear of the unknown, you're gonna really enjoy this movie. And if you like movies that delve deep into like the characters and what they're going through and trauma and psychological stuff, you're gonna enjoy this movie too. And that's where I'll go into spoilers because, going in, I heard that this was a psychological horror movie. So I kind of kept that in mind as I was watching it. And even then I was kind of confused, I was still trying to figure out the puzzle pieces. But the movie definitely gives you a lot to think about. And I love movies like that. So some people don't. Some people don't like movies that end on cliffhangers. But the more I thought about this movie, the more I realized things throughout that I missed the first time. When I was talking to my coworkers, they were like, oh yeah, did you notice that the kid said this and the kid did this, and that kind of explains why the mother's acting this way. And I'm like, oh, now I'm kind of getting it. And that kind of makes the movie also brilliant. Just to wrap up the non-spoiler portion of this video, I really enjoyed this movie. I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10 crisscross awesome sauce. The only reason why I give it a 9 out of 10 is because there's parts of this movie that take a while to get going. It's kind of a slow burn. And then when it does get going, it gets really dark and it's hard to see what's going on at times. Unless like you're in a pitch black movie theater, it could be like really difficult to kind of see what's going on and things like that. And then the movie itself is kind of hard to understand. So you get that on top of being unable to see what's going on. It's just, I don't know. It's not the best movie going experience. So just for that, I give it 9 out of 10. But solid 10 out of 10 for the story. And now, guys, I'm going to talk about the story, and I'm going to try to explain a little bit about this movie in case people were puzzled by it. So here comes the spoilers. So throughout the movie, you get to really delve deep into the main character, Ramona. And you're seeing what she's seeing, you're feeling what she's feeling. You're getting all these flashbacks and when her husband was still alive and still around, and kind of see like the issues regarding the relationship. And there's a part where you see them arguing before the car crash and things like that, about how Ramona is unsatisfied with her life and things like that. And she just wants more, even though the husband's giving his all. He's working really hard to provide the house and provide a pleasant life for his family. You could see that that's really not enough for Ramona, and they're just they're just going back and forth about it, and they're fighting. And then then you're starting to wonder, when you see this type of dynamic, you're starting to think, wow, did Ramona kill her husband? And in a sense, she kind of did. She had all these thoughts running in her head that she wasn't paying attention when she was driving, and then boom, her husband dies in the accident, things like that. And all this self-doubt and not being satisfied with your life, your current situation. All these thoughts are running through your head that trigger you and you go insane. You're not paying attention to what's going on in the present moment, and then you find yourself in a recipe of disaster. And so that's how the husband dies in this movie. So there's a little bit of spoilers. Them, going back at it, and then you start to wonder, like, is the guilt driving Ramona insane? From losing her husband, and now the kids have no father, and she's having to provide for everything in the household. And then not only that, though, you could see the, what do you call it? Not premonitions, but like kind of like dream sequences where she's hurting the children. Like the daughter gets stabbed in one scene, and we're like, what the hell? And then it turns out she stabbed a pillow, and then the kids are all crying and things like that. But in her mind, she actually stabbed her daughter. So we have to wonder, is that the guilt that's driving her insane and wanting to, kill her children so they don't have to suffer living without a father and things like that. And then you start to wonder, well, does she want to kill herself, And then that's where the angel of death thought process went in my mind. I'm like, well, maybe that's what the women in the yard symbolizes. She's all in black. And when you wear black, it's kind of like representing a funeral, representing death. And, you have the husband who already died, and maybe now she's coming back for the mother, And there's parts in the movie where the woman in the yard, the entity, says, you called for me, and things like that. And so you have to wonder, well, did Ramona call for the woman in the yard to take her away? Or is she thinking about suicide? Is she wanting the woman in the yard to kill her? And the woman in the yard could symbolize, the dark side in her mind, the sad side, the guilt-ridden Ramona that wants to die, So, and then as the movie goes, you start to realize that this is all in her head. The woman in the yard doesn't really exist. It's all like a figment of her imagination, her want to die, because she's so riddled in guilt for killing her husband, which, was an accident, but, all these things that, are in her head, kind of caused that accident, her her feelings of, not belonging, her lack of self-worth, all those things led to her husband's death. So, yeah, you're wondering, does that entity symbolize that, And is it, Ramona talking to herself? And then, I was thinking, okay, well, that makes sense now. But how come the children could see this woman in the yard? How come there's a scene in the movie where the boy comes out with a gun and points it at the woman in the yard and then tells her to go away, you're driving my mom crazy and things like that. So, and I was thinking about it, and then my coworker said, well, did you realize that there's a part where the kid said that that mom is off her pills again or something like that, And then I was like, so maybe they know that the woman in the yard does not exist, that there's actually no one out there, but they kind of just go with it, to kind of keep their mom, off the edge, they know that mom isn't well, and so they kind of just go with it and pretend that they're talking to a woman out there, like, okay, mom, okay, because there's a part where they lock the mother, Ramona, in the basement or somewhere in the closet or somewhere. They keep her away while the boy goes to talk to the woman in the yard. So maybe that's the kids kind of like giving the mother her moment, letting her vent, letting her have her episode, her dramatic episode, cry and let it all out while, they tell the mother, yeah, I'm going to go talk to this woman in the yard, and tell her to go away when really there's no one there. So it's pretty messed up stuff here, guys. And I'm getting emotional, even talking about it. I've been thinking about this movie a lot, and I just, oh man, it really puts me in kind of like a sad mood because these things actually happen people actually go through this. People go through trauma and, think about suicide. They have guilt after losing a loved one. Sometimes they take the blame for their loss and things like that. And, when you have family is just, it's so hard to maintain, and little kids that you have to raise now. And, this stuff actually happens in real life. And to, think that, somebody could actually be going through this is just, it gives me a feeling like no other, all right? So gets me really in my feels. And that's why I really like this movie, because it presents it in a way that makes you think and makes you put the puzzle pieces together. Another thing I didn't catch on, I was kind of confused by, at the end of this movie, okay, so the mother tells the children to leave, assuming she's going to commit suicide, so she evacuates the kids from the house while she's talking to the entity, and the entity's trying to, help her do it. She has the gun and it's pointed towards her neck and all of that. But anyway, so she has the kids evacuate the house. And after she doesn't do it, spoiler alert, she doesn't end up going along with it. The kids return to the house. And there was a dog that was missing too. The dog was gone. I don't know what happened to the dog. It was assumed for a while that the entity had buried the dog, but then they pulled the leash and the dog wasn't underground. It was just gone. And then all of a sudden the dog comes back. It's a happy family. They're like, is the woman gone? Oh my God. They're all excited because they think that they've gotten rid of this woman in the yard, metaphorically. And the dog comes back. So you have to think, like, man, she was probably like really going insane, yelling at the kids, probably yelling at the dog. She scared the dog away. Apparently the dog was nowhere to be seen until the end of the movie. He comes back because everything's fine. It's kind of like the calm after the storm type of thing. And I thought that was kind of cool. It really does symbolize a lot there, having the dog and the whole family return to peace. And then you see a painting. So, I mean, the painting, okay, is like a mixture of the entity and Ramona. You can see their faces like kind of blended in together. And that is a metaphor, like maybe it's the same person. It's like the two sides of the mind, There's, the strong and calm and happy Ramona. And then there's, the darkness, the sad and depressed Ramona that is the entity, the woman in the yard, put together in one painting. And, maybe that painting symbolizes, her kind of escaping death, escaping the suicide, Instead of killing herself, she drew a painting. Anyways, yeah, man, those are just some things that I picked up in this movie. I'm sure I'm missing a lot because this movie is a lot to unpack. And this is really the first ever like movie review where I really wanted to delve deep into the movie just because I was so pleasantly surprised by it. But let me know if there was anything that I missed or if there's anything that I explained that you guys like may have not caught before, and then now it kind of makes sense for you. But that's like the best I can do in kind of explaining this movie, is just that it's a movie about depression and guilt and kind of overcoming it and the horrors that come with it. It's really real stuff. And I haven't felt this emotional about a movie since I saw The Others with Nicole Kidman. Like, movies about ghosts and things like that, they kind of scare me because they're real, it's real stuff, it's a movies about life, and when you're a ghost, there's a lot of guilt and sadness that, that's why a lot of spirits linger around, because they haven't come to terms with death, and things like that are really real, and they make me really sad. I cry more than I, get scared with these movies, but in this case, it was a mixture of all those things. This movie keeps me up at night. I think about the crazy, creepy figure that was lingering in the yard. I think about it all the time, and then I look around and I try to look for things that look like that, just to kind of freak me out. It keeps me up at night, guys. And that being said, that's why I love this movie. I don't know if I'm gonna buy it when it comes out. I kind of don't want it in my house because this movie really did freak me out, but it did its job. It did an amazing job. I'm gonna give it 9 out of 10, like I said before. But I highly recommend you guys check it out. So anyways, you guys, that is my review. Let me know what you thought of this movie if you saw it. I know I'm kind of late in reviewing it because it took me a while to watch it. I didn't really want to watch it, but I ended up watching it, and now I'm talking to you guys about it. So give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. But Kenneth Ramon, signing off.